For my promotion celebration, my dad gifted me a disownment letter. From the whole family, Mom announced at the restaurant. My brother recorded my reaction for his followers. I just nodded, took the papers, and walked out. They had no idea what I'd already sold. My name is Bruce. I'm 31, eldest son, and the one who learned early to be useful instead of visible. I'm a stockbroker, numbers, screens, calm voice on volatile days. In my family, though, none of that made me the golden one. That was my younger brother, Dylan, born with a smile that excused the mess behind him. I was the insurance policy, the fixer, the one who understood money, which meant I could be tapped like an ATM if the right guilt words were used. I grew up in a house where praise was loud and criticism was quiet but constant. Dad loved to say, "Dylan's got heart. Bruce has spreadsheets." Mom would laugh like it was a joke. It wasn't. It was a rule. If Dylan wanted cleats, he got the best. If I wanted a calculator for AP math, I got a lecture on not flaunting how bookish I was. I learned to stay small, to plan, to breathe through the long dinners where my brother's stories got standing ovations and my news got a polite nod. By 27, I had my Series 7, a tiny apartment, and a habit of working through holidays because markets don't care about family schedules. At 29, I moved desks to a better team. At 30, I built a book from nothing. Clients stayed because I answered their calls at 7:03 a.m. and again at 11:49 p.m. My P and L was the only applause I needed. Still, I went home for birthdays and Sunday roasts and those long, slow afternoons where Dad lectured about real men doing real work, then asked me to move money around for Dylan's latest idea. I said yes more often than I should have, because saying no turned into World War III in a kitchen that smelled like lemon cleaner and resentment. 2 months ago, I got promoted. Officially, Senior Vice President, Equities. Unofficially, the person my boss paged first when the market tanked. I texted the family chat out of habit. Mom replied with confetti emojis and is so proud of you, honey. Dad sent about time. Dylan sent a thumbs up and a link to his new channel where he was documenting the grind and also dropping merch soon. They planned a dinner. Our treat, Mom said. Nice place, suit required, Dad added. I should have known the script. I should have read the weather. I put on the good Navy suit anyway. The restaurant had white tablecloths and lighting that made everyone look expensive. The waiter said congratulations as he poured water. Mom dabbed at her eyes. My big boy, she said. Dad cleared his throat like a speech was coming. Dylan angled his phone for a candid shot. I practiced the smile people post under promotions on LinkedIn. Grateful, humble, tired. The first course hadn't arrived when Mom pulled a thick envelope from her purse. Cream paper. My name in my father's handwriting. From the whole family, she said, like it was a bouquet. Dad folded his hands. Dylan lifted his phone higher. I opened it. Disownment is a cold word when it's printed on legal letterhead. Inside were bullet points. Conditions. A list of assets and assistants never rendered, phrased like I'd stolen air from their lungs. A paragraph about willing severance of familial ties, signed by both parents. A notary stamp tilted like a bruise. Smile, Dylan said softly, camera up. It's for my followers. The Hard Truth series. For once I didn't perform. I just nodded. I folded the papers back into the envelope, tucked it into my jacket, stood up, and set my napkin down. Mom's voice followed me. Bruce, don't be dramatic. Dad's was flatter. Just take it, Bruce. Dylan recorded. A couple at the next table pretended not to watch. The waiter froze with a tray of bread like a statue in a play. I walked out. On the sidewalk, the air was cold enough to sting. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even surprised. The surprise had happened weeks earlier, in a quiet office at 8:12 p.m., with a call I'll never forget. That was when I realized how much of me they'd already spent. That was when I started making a list of what mattered and what could be sold. And no, I'm not talking about stocks. The thing about being the responsible one is that people mistake reliability for infinite capacity. When you don't flinch, they stack more on. When you don't complain, they assume you're fine. That's how I ended up covering Dylan's overdraft at 22, his bridge loan at 24, his emergency rent at 26, and his one-time only business pivot at 28. The amounts started as hundreds and grew into 5 figures that were no big deal to you, Bruce. Family helps family, Dad said every time. Just until he's on his feet, Mom added, as if Dylan had ever stood without leaning. I kept spreadsheets, because that's who I am. Columns for dates, amounts, stated reasons, actual reasons. I didn't add interest. I didn't ask for repayments. I kept the file in a folder named Tax Documents so I wouldn't have to explain it to anyone. At 30, Dylan went all in on content. Podcast, vlogs, lives about hustle culture recorded from Dad's leather chair. He called himself a founder. The thing he founded was a hole in the family budget. Views were low, then high, then low again. He asked me to sponsor an episode. Be a cool big bro, he said. Win-win. I said no. He texted, money makes you cruel. Mom called 2 minutes later. Bruce, he's sensitive. Dad sent me a video of Dylan at a ring light saying, bro, people don't get it. The caption was, people who invest in you are the only ones who matter. I muted notifications and stared at my ceiling and thought about how easy it is to confuse attention with respect. Work was simple by comparison. The market is rude but honest. It punishes fairy tales and rewards discipline. When I got tapped for SVP, it wasn't because anyone liked me. It was because my calls were right more often than not, and because I knew when to cut a loss. My boss shook my hand and said, dry eyes, Fisk. Now build. That night, Mom called at 10:41 p.m. Your father and I are so happy. We knew you had it in you. Then, a pause. So, on that note, I closed my eyes. It's just Dylan's car, she said. The bank is being so unforgiving. If we could move some things around. Mom, no. Silence on the line. Then her voice got buttery. Don't let this position make you arrogant. I've heard versions of that sentence my whole life. It works like a dog whistle. Translation, do what we want, and do it with a smile. I said, I've been arrogant exactly 0 times. I've been a wallet. Wow, she said. To your own mother? Dad called an hour later. His voice was clean, like he'd been rehearsing. Son, Dylan needs $18,400 to stop a repo. We'll pay you back in some time. Don't be petty about family. Stop using that word, I said. Petty means I'm asking small. I'm asking big. For you to treat me like a person. Don't raise your voice. I'm not. The phone made my apartment feel smaller. I'm telling you I can't do this anymore. Dad exhaled. You think that title makes you a king? I hung up before I said the thing I wanted to say. That a king is allowed to say no, but a son in our family isn't allowed to say anything. The next day, Dylan posted a story. Some people only help when it benefits them. He added a song about snakes. He tagged no one and everyone. Then came the second call, the one at 8:12 p.m., from an unknown number with a pleasant voice that belonged to a loan officer. Mr. Fisk, you're a listed reference on an application. We just need to verify a few details regarding your brother's income and your willingness to guarantee. I stared at the blinds. I didn't consent to be a guarantor. There's a signed document here with your name. Send it. She did. I printed it and sat with the page spread on my desk. My signature, traced from somewhere. The numbers were ugly. It wasn't a car. It was a consolidation. Credit cards Dylan had described as small, rolled into a boulder. He'd faked my permission. He'd used me not just as a wallet, but as a shield. I took the stairs down to the street and walked until the cold cut through the noise in my head. People talk about betrayal like it's dramatic, all caps, fireworks. It's not. It's smaller. It's a simple math problem suddenly turning into a lie. It's realizing your name is a tool other people think they own. I didn't call anyone that night. I made tea I didn't drink. I opened that old spreadsheet. I added a row. Unauthorized guarantee attempt. Amount, $62,900. Reason, because he could. The next morning I told my firm's legal about the forged signature because ethics is a thing when your job is moving other people's money. Then I sent Dylan a text. Remove my name from anything. Now. He replied with a shrug emoji. Then, big bro, relax. I didn't relax. I got quiet. Quiet is where I do my best thinking. Meanwhile, the family campaign ramped up. Mom's messages got syrupy. We miss you. Dad's got moral. Don't abandon your blood. Dylan's got cinematic. I'll pay you back when the brand pops off. You'll be sorry you doubted me. I muted all 3. 3 days later, Mom announced the promotion dinner. A family celebration, she said. Make time. I tried to say I had work. She said, make time. When the envelope appeared at the restaurant, it wasn't random. It was pressure dressed as paperwork. They'd turned me into a plot twist for my brother's channel. A villain. A lesson about how money corrupts. I walked out with the letter in my jacket and a list in my head that was getting very, very short. I didn't sleep the night after the restaurant. Not from rage. From clarity. The next morning, I was at my desk by 6:50 a.m., screens lighting up one by one. My team drifted in, the floor hummed. I pressed the envelope flat on the desk and read every line again. The tone was legal but childish. One section detailed property acquired during dependence. Another declared me emotionally negligent. It was theater with a notary stamp. At 9:03 a.m., Dylan's video went live. When success splits a family. He cut my exit into slow motion. He layered a piano track. He cried on cue. The comments rolled in. Bro, you didn't deserve that. He changed. Money makes people cold. I turned the volume down and did my job. Bought what needed buying. Sold what needed selling. Kept 3 anxious clients from doing something dumb. When the bell closed, I shut my laptop and picked up my phone. Mom, we shouldn't have surprised you with the letter. Come to Sunday dinner, we'll talk it out. Dad, being offended doesn't change facts. Dylan, we can fix this on camera. Narrative control. That last one made me laugh out loud in a conference room. On camera. Narrative control. I saw it clear. They didn't want me back. They wanted footage. I texted, no. He sent back 12 messages in a row, escalating from pseudo-wise, pride is expensive, bro, to threatening, then don't cry later. I put my phone face down. I thought about being 16 and fixing Dad's ancient spreadsheet while he told me how men provide. I thought about Mom's voice the day I got into college. Good, but don't start acting like you're better. I thought about Dylan at 19 saying, cover me this one time. We were 12 one times past that. Saturday came. I cleaned my apartment, took a long run, showered, and sat on the floor with a stack of files. Not the investment kind. The real kind. Birth certificate. Old tax returns. That spreadsheet printed out, staple stabbing the corner. The disownment letter on top. I added a yellow sticky note. You wanted legal? Okay. I drove to my parents' neighborhood Sunday afternoon. I didn't park in the driveway. I parked down the block and walked, hands in pockets, the way you walk into a storm you've already decided to stand through. I rang the bell. I could hear chatter inside, then footsteps. Mom opened the door with her nice company smile. It dropped when she saw I was alone. No girlfriend? She said, like a joke. No entourage. Dad called from the kitchen. If you're here to apologize, be quick. We're eating. Dylan swung around the hallway corner with his phone in his hand, thumb poised. We go live in 5, he said. I said, no, we don't. Mom spread her arms as if we were embracing. This can be fixed with a conversation. Great, I said. I held up the envelope. Let's have one. We sat in the living room. The house smelled like roast and furniture polish. The mantel had Dylan's plaque from a high school award night, and none of my anything. That used to feel like a dare. Now it felt like proof. Mom motioned to the couch. We did what we did out of love. That letter isn't love, I said. It's leverage. Dad leaned forward, elbows on knees, the way he does when he's about to deliver a sermon. You have resources. Your brother needs support. You've forgotten where you came from. Dylan raised his phone. Let's start with accountability. Bruce, say I. I put the phone down with 2 fingers. No cameras. Why are you afraid of truth, he said. I'm not. I looked at each of them, one at a time. I'm done paying for lies. Dad's jaw tensed. We gave you everything. You gave me a roof and lessons on being small, I said quietly. I gave you money. Here are the numbers. I slid the printed spreadsheet across the table. Rows and rows. Dates. Amounts. Reasons. The golden child lit by fluorescent debt. Mom didn't touch it. This is tacky. It's accurate. Dylan snorted. You keep receipts on your own family? That's extreme. You forged my signature, I said. We went still. You could hear the clock tick. What? Mom said, too fast. The consolidation loan. I set down the printout from the bank. My signature on your form. It isn't mine. Legal at my firm has the original. They also have the stat from the restaurant, in case you try to edit the story. Dad stood up. You watch your mouth. No, I said. My voice surprised me with how even it was. This is me watching my boundary. I folded the disownment letter open and put it on top of the stack. You wanted to cut me off. Let's make it mutual. Mom's eyes went shiny with anger. Don't do this. It's already done. I looked at Dylan. You can't use my name. Not for credit, not for clout, not for narrative. Take down the video. He scoffed. Make me. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. The sentence felt like a lock clicking. You want to know the real reason I walked out at the restaurant without shouting? Because the decision was older than that envelope. Because I already sold something you thought you owned. They stared. Dylan tried to guess. What? Your shares and decency. I stood. My obligation to fix you. I didn't slam the door. I didn't do anything dramatic. I left the same way I'd lived in that house, quietly, on my own 2 feet. By the time I got back to my apartment, my phone had mutated into a siren. 42 missed calls. 61 texts. A voice message from Mom that started with tears and ended with insults. 2 from Dad, both versions of, "You're making this bigger than it is." 10 from Dylan, a highlight reel of manipulation. "You ruined Sunday. You're jealous. I'm posting everything. Lawyer says you don't have a case. You'll be back." I put the phone in a drawer and made pasta like a normal person. I ate standing up in my kitchen, listening to the radiator click. I slept the best I had in months. Monday morning, HR emailed me. Someone had called, a family member, attempting to report me for insider behavior. The compliance team already knew. I'd briefed them the week of the forged signature. The report was dismissed in 11 minutes. If you want to understand how angry people behave when you stop feeding them, there's your case study. They try to set your house on fire with rumors and then act surprised when the sprinklers work. Dylan's video doubled in views, then tripled. The comments got uglier. I didn't read them. I blocked and went for a run. Halfway through mile 2, I realized I was smiling. Not because any of this was fun, because I had finally done the thing my job trained me to do. Cut a loss early enough that it doesn't eat your future. 3 days later, a letter arrived, this time from my lawyer to theirs. It was short. It said the forged signature had been reported. It said any use of my name in financial instruments without my consent would be pursued. It said the defamatory content in the video was being documented. It didn't roar. It didn't threaten. It was calm, which is worse if you're the kind of person who thinks noise equals power. Mom texted, "How could you sick lawyers on your own mother?" I wrote back, "I didn't. I defended myself." Dad called from a blocked number. "You think money protects you?" "No," I said. "Boundaries do." He hung up. Here's the part one didn't expect. The emptiness where daily drama used to be. It felt like when the market closes and the screens go dark. At first your hands keep twitching, waiting for another alert. Then your shoulders drop. Then you notice silence is not nothing. It's space. I filled it with small things. New towels. A citrus plant that would probably die under my care and then didn't. I started sitting in a cafe before work and not looking at a screen for 20 minutes. I called clients back at reasonable hours. I didn't apologize for not being a 24/7 machine. My boss said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." On Friday, the firm announced my promotion publicly. LinkedIn did its thing. The likes, the well-deserved, the acquaintances asking to pick my brain. Then came a DM from a name I hadn't seen since college. Claire. She dated Dylan for 2 years, pre-content. The message was 3 lines. "He's been using your name to threaten vendors. My brother on Wall Street will ruin you. I'm sorry. I thought you should know." I wrote, "Thank you." Then, "You don't owe me for his choices." Saturday morning, my doorman handed me a thick envelope. Same cream paper. No return address. Inside, a second letter from my parents' lawyer, bizarrely cheerful, withdrawing the disownment. After reflection, the family would like to rescind prior statements. It read like a press release written by people who learned empathy from TV. There were 2 hand-scribbled notes tucked in. Mom's, "We were emotional. Come Sunday, I'll make lamb." Dad's, "Enough theatrics. Shake hands and move on." I stared at the page and felt nothing but the steady clock of my own pulse. I put the letter with the first one in a clear folder labeled Family Documents and filed it next to my lease. Dylan's channel went quiet for a week. Then he posted a new video, accountability update. He didn't name me. He talked about toxic family structures and breaking cycles. He turned off comments. He posted a photo of a new mic. He started a Patreon. He messaged me, "We cool?" "No," I wrote back. "We're done." He called immediately. "Don't do this. We can benefit each other." "How?" "You could come on my pod. Talk about finance." People love brothers with different vibes. "Dylan," I said, and the sadness in my voice surprised me. "You can't see me unless I'm useful." Silence. Then, the small voice he used to use when he was 8 and trying not to cry after Dad yelled. "So never. I hope you figure yourself out," I said. "But I'm not your ladder." Click. Weeks passed. The text slowed. The calls dropped to 0. What stayed were the habits I was building without them. I cooked the same breakfast every day. I went to bed before midnight. I stopped proving I was useful to people who used me. That freed up more time than I expected. In that extra time, I finally sold what needed selling. You thought it was my stocks? It wasn't. I kept those. What I sold was the narrative, quietly, cleanly, to myself. I took the version of me that my family wrote, the one where I'm the resource, the background, the sure thing, and I cashed it out. I replaced it with a new line item, person. I put it in my internal portfolio labeled non-negotiables. Around then, my Aunt Ruth called, the one relative who never asked for $1 and always brought actual food to holidays. Haven't heard your voice, she said. You okay? I'm lighter, I said. Good, she said. Remember, a no is a full sentence. Did mom send you? I sent myself, she said. Also, please eat something besides eggs and coffee. We laughed. I hung up and cooked actual vegetables because Aunt Ruth is the only person I'll take orders from. Not everything was neat. A cousin DM'd me to say Dad had been complaining at a barbecue that I'd turned snobby. A neighbor told me Mom cried in the grocery store about how Bruce abandoned us in our time of need. I didn't chase those fires. I let people believe whatever made sense to them. I'd wasted too much time managing perceptions. It's exhausting work, pretending to be someone's villain so they can feel like a hero. On a Tuesday, I got an email from my firm's pro bono arm about a finance literacy workshop at a community center. I said yes. Saturday morning, I stood in a room with 20 people who wanted to understand budgets and credit reports. I drew boxes on a whiteboard. I said sentences I needed to hear at 18. Your budget is your boundary. If they don't respect it, they don't respect you. Someone in the back raised a hand. What if they is your mom? Especially then, I said, and the room laughed the kind of laugh that means we're all tired of the same thing. On my way out, a guy my age stopped me. You talk like someone who survived family drama. I did, I said. Any tips? Start small. Track the asks. Say one no. Tell yourself it's allowed to feel awful and keep going. He nodded like he'd been waiting for permission. I thought of Dylan staring at a ring light, of Dad at the kitchen table, arms folded, of Mom holding a letter like a gift. It hit me how much of my life had been arranged around not making other people uncomfortable. I walked home in the thin winter sun, bought oranges on the corner, and didn't check my phone for 2 hours. The last message I got from my mother was short. Sunday dinner at 5. Your seat is always here. It used to be a hook. This time, it was just a sentence on a screen. I typed, no, thank you. I didn't explain. Explanations are just invitations to argue. Dad never wrote again. Dylan posted a video about rebirth, then pivoted to reviewing gadgets. I stopped checking. People kept telling me updates like it was news I needed. I didn't. My life moved forward in the small ways that matter. I lifted more than I scrolled. I saved for things I actually wanted. I started sleeping on clean sheets because I washed them on Thursdays, not when I felt guilty. When I think about the restaurant now, the envelope, the camera, the entire performance, I don't feel the heat I felt that night. I feel cool air on my face outside the door and a strange gratitude that they said the quiet part out loud. It made my decision honest. If there's a moral, it's not dramatic. It's boring, which is how you know it's true. Here it is. People who love you don't make you a ledger. People who love you don't require you to bleed to prove your loyalty. And if they do, you're allowed to close the account. My name is Bruce. I'm 31. I'm a stockbroker. I am no one's emergency exit. I don't owe anyone my ruin. I won't participate in my own extraction. I won't be filmed while I'm being drained. I'm not seeking revenge. I don't need apology speeches or tearful reunions over overcooked lamb. I needed closure, and I gave it to myself. I drew a line and stood on my side of it. I won't let anyone spin me without consent again. I won't let them rename my no as cruelty. I won't let guilt dress up as love and move into my life rent-free. I'm building something quieter than a viral clip and sturdier than a notarized demand. It looks like a Tuesday where I go to work, come home, text Aunt Ruth a photo of the citrus tree, answer a client's question without panic, and fall asleep before midnight. It looks like a life that finally belongs to me.